Hello and welcome to another episode of Brand Retro. Today on the podcast we have Chris Troka. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Mike, thanks so much for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, no problem. So we had the opportunity to chat a little bit at the beginning here when you hopped on. And one of the things you mentioned was the buyer's journey and some of the friction that comes with that. Let's unpack that a little bit. So what exactly do you mean by that, and how do you explain that to people when you're consulting and helping them through their marketing journey?
Absolutely. So the buyer's journey is basically from the moment someone is either aware or unaware of a problem that needs to be solved, and then they begin researching solutions for that problem. They're considering what company they might like to work with. They're still doing informational research. They need to learn more about their problem, how to potentially solve it, and who might be a good fit for that. So basically, when we try to lay this out within, let's say, a marketing funnel, or going from the first step of a lead into a customer into fulfillment, we need to look at that journey. What information do they need along the way? How many touch points do they have? How long does it take for them to make a purchase decision? And a lot of the times I see too many entrepreneurs making this mistake of going for a hard sell. Their follow-up emails sound like, hey, you forgot to buy our stuff. Would you like to buy our stuff? And then the next email is, hey, any thoughts on buying our stuff? And it's, oh gosh, why are we doing this to ourselves? That is the wrong way to market. So I like to promote things that are more based on value, on building relationships throughout their journey, whether they purchase from you or not. A good example is my wedding DJ service that I started 10 years ago. I made most of the mistakes possible. I made people print out, sign, and mail back a contract for my DJ service. And I only took checks. In a world where everything was going digital, no one had a printer at home. So I'm like making every single mistake. I'm literally like forcing people to jump through hurdles to sign up for my service. That's when things hit me. I went back and got my marketing degree, and I built a funnel for my own DJ service. This is where people could customize and fill out their own DJ quote. They could actually look at a public contract and move forward and make a payment online with a digital contract. And then the fulfillment, service side of it was the music selection. So they can now choose their music online. And this was just my epiphany that this is the buyer's journey. This is what I'm putting people through in their experience. What do I go through when I'm looking for solutions to problems? If it's too difficult, I'm going to back out of that website. And I was doing that to my own clients and customers. So once I fixed all of those problems, finally, things started just clicking for me. We started doing like 70 plus events a year. I have a team of DJs now. We've won awards. So it's crazy what happens when you start listening to the advice of your mentors and start taking action from that.
I think the idea of reducing friction, it sounds simple, but I mean, honestly, it's the easier you can make that process, and honestly, make it with no strings attached. We're all voyeurs to some degree. So when we want to work with somebody or a business, we're researching them online, we're looking them up on Facebook, we're trying to research to figure out if is this even something I want to pursue? And to kind of have a no strings attached mindset and kind of a just like, hey, let's just meet and see if we're even a good fit. It's a very low barrier way to give that customer an opportunity to get to know you, but also for you to vet them out. So it's like, I think, entrepreneurs, sometimes I think we get hungry, and I think we get a little too excited about the sales process and we're trying to close it. And we just don't give ourselves enough space to just be people.
Absolutely. I heard from someone else's podcast, this small line was very inspiring, was don't chase the bag, get the bag. And I feel like people give off this vibe of desperation, and they're just, like you said, they're very hungry for the sale, and they're like, literally any client will do, please just pay me money. And later on we realize, okay, there are some clients who are not a good fit, both on the client side or us as a business. We can't fulfill in the way that we can't meet expectations, and that's not good for a long-term brand. So it's definitely something you want to find the right fit with the client. Are we the right solution for you? But again, just break down those barriers first. Don't make them jump through all these hurdles like I used to just to find out more information. Make yourself easy and accessible to a point where, again, you're providing value, building relationships, and breaking that barrier. I love that mindset that you have. I think that's the right way to be in marketing nowadays.
So let's just take a jump forward. So you have the client, for argument's sake, let's say it's a good fit. We're going to work together. How do you reduce the friction on the onboarding side?
Of course, there's that balance. It's like we want the client to have a lot of say in what they want done and to be able to customize that. But there are a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners who literally they'll say to you, I'm paying you to figure that out for me. Just do it for me. So that's totally cool. We have entrepreneurs different sides of the spectrum, which is great. Ones who want more input and ones who want to be hands off. So typically the ones who are hands off, we're all on board for that. We will find all the information online that we need for like our onboarding forms for that process. And we try to just be more direct and forward. Matter of fact, we don't like to give them options. We like to recommend what the best option would be so they don't have to think about it. Again, that's probably why they're paying us. So then we can execute those strategies for them. And then the touch base points are just finding out what the results were, how are things looking, where should we go forward.
Yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but one of the things I would add to that I've seen in my career is that a lot of times the clients will say, hey, that's why we're paying you. You're the expert. We want you to do this. It's a trick. Because when you pick up that ball and run with it, and you're like, yeah, they totally trust me. Yeah, until it's not what they want. And then when they come back and start hammering you on, like, where did you come up with this idea? And you have to protect yourself in the process. I want to hear your thoughts, but how we do it, we force them to at least hear us out. So yes, if you're empowering us to find that solution, if you're going to lean on us to make the suggestion or whatever, I do expect you then to sit through the process while I explain to you why it is what it is, because I need some kind of a nonverbal buy-in of sorts so that if and when the plan changes, you know you were part of that process. Because I don't think they do it intentionally, but it's a trap. If they say, hey, that's why we hired you, you still have to quantify the decision and make sure you're making the right one.
Yes, absolutely. I love that process that you set up. And hey, in an absolutely perfect world, all of our clients would love the first draft of anything we put in front of them. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes things are a little bit off brand or not what they envision in their head. Again, it's something that's more subjective, especially on the creative things. But again, I love your process that you say, at least hear me out and let me justify the reason and why I did it this way, because there could be many other factors hidden in there that serve that purpose, that actually support your argument. But in addition, maybe it allows the client to see it from a different perspective and get some more feedback on exactly what it is that they don't like. Because again, through that discovery process where you're asking more questions, you can get more insight into what they actually want from you. So I love that process that you described. That seems like a great way. And again, similar for wedding DJ as well. They hire us as professionals. They want some customization, but they need us, like trust us as DJs to play the right music. But then if it's not that vibe or the audience, like we need some input. We're room readers, we're not mind readers. So for us, we can use our past experience, but I feel it's very similar from the marketing clients we get as well as music on the dance floor. You give them what they want, but not what they want. It's a tough balance to try to walk.
And you have to, to be honest, sometimes that process, it's a CYA for you and your business, but it's also a way to jog it loose. So once you actually lay it out for the client, say, here's what I'm doing and why, you'll get feedback. They will say, oh, well, that makes sense, but did you think of this? Or, I don't like that. Or it'll jog at least a handful of nuggets loose, which helps you get closer to that end result. So like in the DJ world, if you just came in with YMCA and Moni Moni, you're going to get somebody that jumps up and says, hey, no on this one. Okay, how would I know that? That's at every wedding. It helps. It helps to really show them your cards a little bit so that at least, if nothing else, you'll get the contradiction or their opposing view, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's something that we're always here to serve our clients, and the best way is that there has to be a two-way communication to it. Again, we're the trusted experts, advisors in the situation, but again, we need some more industry knowledge specific to the business. What is their vision? What are their goals? So that we can craft this comprehensive package that actually serves them and isn't just a cookie cutter template that you're just tossing at every business that comes across your table.
Yeah. And I would say the pros and cons of that kind of communication, the pros are obviously, it gives you the opportunity to be super transparent, and it empowers you to some degree to make some of those decisions like we've been talking about. But it also, from a proactive perspective, gives you the opportunity to drive. And I think that's sometimes the struggle with clients is they want control, but they don't really know what that looks like because they don't know. They don't know what questions to ask or even what to do. So to have that kind of relationship is really powerful, and I think it's a great thing. I think the cons is that you sometimes have to go fishing for the answers, and you got to, lack of a better term, you got to beat it out of them a little bit to make sure you're on the right track, because I've got clients that just will flat out tell you, I won't know it till I see it. That sounds great, But how many times can you rebuild a website or a logo, or, you can't, that's just not smart. So as much as you can get that information from them, it's important, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's when you need to relook at how many revisions you allow within a certain project. Then you say, okay, it'll be X amount of dollars for that. But again, you can't go in just blind with no direction. And if they can't communicate that to you properly, that's just not going to be a good fit, a good working relationship. You can't go rebuilding logos, websites. After you go through a certain point, you just reach that maximum amount of hours for the project. And unfortunately, that's just how it goes.
Have you ever ran into a situation where it blew up in your face and it did not go as planned?
Yeah, I mean, there were graphics within a package I put together that some she was really excited about and the other ones were okay. But she was a great communicator and she actually provided me direction. So we actually built these graphics together. So I worked one-on-one with a video chat, sharing my screen in our designer program to put these graphics together and say, okay, what do you think about this? She would say, let's try the logo over here, or try this there. And I'm just kind of putting that together. And then I would put in my design tips and tricks and just advise her on that and say, okay, we need a little bit more proximity, some alignment, some more contrast here, just using the best practices to help guide them a bit. But she was great at giving me that vision for her brand. So then future branding materials were all on point. They were all coming together. And she had some great success with that within the marketing package. Last month, when we met for coffee, she let me know that 96% of her calendar was full for her dental practice. And she had 140,000 in production revenue that month. That turned from what could have been a very bad situation with branding that did not meet the expectations of the client into, okay, everything's coming together. It's working. The results are demonstrated. There's a return on investment. Hey, what can we do? We're signing a contract in the next couple of weeks. Hey, use those as learning opportunities. But yeah, the better they can communicate, the better.
Right. Not ideal, but I have also had to do that a few times where it's the only way we're going to get this done is we're going to have to share the screen and do it together. So
Yes.
That said, what's your advice to other budding entrepreneurs or designers who want to kind of start their process? I mean, I'm sure you get it as well, but I get a lot of people that ask questions and where to start, how to start, and how do you start to formulate your version of how you're going to build out this customer journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So entrepreneurs who are just starting out, I know a lot of them are excited to get their own business card and website going, and that has a place, and especially as someone who promotes digital marketing, all the better. But not everyone has access to those resources, nor would it be that great as far as the end result. All you need to get started is start building relationships, develop an offer or a package, communicate that with people, and eventually you'll gain enough interest. As time goes on, then you can start building along that. And then when it comes to the client fulfillment side, I find that it's not just the end result, not the end product, like the design or the logo or brochure that you created for them, but it's actually the process throughout. Yeah. They want to have that communication, the one-on-one video time where you're explaining the process. It adds value into what you're building and proves why you do what you do in the way that you do it so that it helps them understand. So other entrepreneurs getting out there, just go shake some hands, build some relationships, work your natural market, then build your digital background from there, and then use those case studies, reviews, and referrals to keep building and compounding those results. And suddenly you'll be sipping margaritas on a beach somewhere.
Right. So what's the one piece of advice you'd give them? If you could only give them one piece, what would it be?
One piece of advice: take action. You don't need to watch another YouTube video, order another book, and you're not just one funnel away from success, from the recurring revenue of your dreams. It is really about taking action. I see a lot of entrepreneurs who love to, they have all the information in front of them. It's under their nose. And I'm asking them, I'm trying to give them advice. And they're like, oh yeah, I heard about that. And also XYZ. So they're teaching me things. And I'm like, you know it. What are you doing? I checked out this. I'm like, what are you waiting for? Just take action. So that's my one piece of advice. People need to take action.
Yeah, and I would add on, when you're starting out, don't let the clients that you do have limit your creativity or your portfolio. So just out of the gate, if you have a client set that's, I got a plumber and a dentist and whatever, and it's just not that I don't have any flashy clients yet because I'm just starting out. Don't let just the work that you're doing for those clients be the best you got. So you might have to work off the clock at night, weekends, create the things you want to create that really showcase your talents, because the gap between where you are and where you want to be is very achievable, but you got to show that work. You have to level yourself up. So don't be held back by the kind of clients that you have.
I love that, Mike. Thank you.
It's huge. I think it's really important because a lot of times, especially if it's a newer artist or somebody that's just starting out, they'll show you their portfolio and you can look at it and go, okay, you're a good designer, but I can tell everything in your portfolio is provided and or driven by the type of client that you have, which
Yes.
is lowering the creativity or it's lowering the overall presentation of things. It's not the worst problem in the world, but like in order for you to level up and showcase your true creativity, you might have to layer on top of that or do something bigger. Because you can pitch those ideas to those clients, but sometimes depending on industry, they're just going to say no because it just doesn't fit.
Absolutely. I like to mention as well, just to create a fake brand, create a fake company for your ideal client. And suddenly you're creating a web page that shows all your potential and it's made specific for that industry. So it should be speaking to them, the graphics, the copy, whatever services you are providing. Create a little example of it, some social media posts, whatever it is you're putting together. So that way they can see the type of work you can do. And like you said, it's not just limited to the couple of niches or industries that you've already worked with. Put something out there that everyone can enjoy.
Yep, I agree. And I want your thoughts on this, but same question. If I was to give one piece of advice, I would tell them to learn to say no. And I know that's hard. I know that when you first start out and you're hungry and you need the work and you just need projects and you need to fill your portfolio and all these different things, you want to say yes to everything. And because you're so revved up to say yes, you're not paying attention to the red flags. And that's how you invite bad situations. You invite nightmare clients. And you want to be smart about it. And you're going to say no more and more as you proceed in your career when you have the ability to. But as much as you can, try to say it once in a while at the beginning of your career as well, because it's nothing against those clients or those projects when it's not right.
You feel it in your gut, right?
When I don't know about this one, but you're saying yes because you need the money or you need the project, or maybe you just don't want to say no. But do it. It's worth it, because the more you can do that and the more you can develop a sense of where you fit or what your production style is or whatever, you're gonna start to hone your skills as to what a good project looks like versus a bad project. And what I mean by that is profitability. Good projects aren't always the fun ones. Those sometimes can be the ones you go backwards in, and vice versa. You might pick up a lame-o project where you're like, this is going to be boring, but it might be the most profitable. So you have to figure that out, because to do this right, you need a mix of both.
Absolutely. And it's just as you described, it's not always the perfect fit, but it has to be the good fit. And learning to say no, absolutely. Early on, we're definitely chasing those sales. We are dying to say yes to someone and have them say it back to us and say, hey, I have a paying client. Huge win. Looking forward to it. But as you get more experience and your time becomes even more and more valuable to yourself, there does come that time where you have to say no because it's just not the right fit. It's not the right pay. I started that with DJing. First, it was birthdays, fundraisers, and anniversaries. I was like, I'll take anything I can get, even weddings. I was like, just send me the gig, $400. I was undercutting myself that entire time. But as time went on, I realized we're really great at weddings. This is the best paying out of all the gigs. I shouldn't fill up my schedule with any of these packages that are paying a third of what I would get at a wedding. Let me keep my schedule open. It took a little while to get there, but now we're at a point where we get 25 reviews a year and we're getting referrals from all the couples that we've worked with. And that only started because we started to say no to the ones, the birthdays, the events, specialized in there. And then we found the perfect fit for our couples. Now, we don't do every wedding either. Unfortunately, we can't service everyone. They're not always a good fit. And it's no knock to any of the brides that we've worked with in the past. It's just, again, we don't think our service could fulfill the needs or expectations that you're putting forward. So I don't think we're the right fit. And that's okay. It leaves our schedule open for others. Otherwise, you're just walking on a very bad path. It's not fun long term.
In a roundabout way, you're doing that client or that potential customer a favor as well. I mean, to just identify it up front. I know it's hard, but saying no and sometimes saying, I don't know if I'm in the right fit, but let me refer you to this person or whatever. It's what's best for everybody, and it's important to define that up front, because if you just say yes to everything, you're going to learn the hard way, and nobody wants to do that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes those things can be our shiny objects, and that takes us off of our main goal, the one thing that we're focused on, whether it's the offer or the niche that we're really honing in on. That can distract us, take away our time, and ultimately lead to unprofitability, and the business has to close or you have to pivot and do something else.
Yeah, I agree. So tell us a little bit more about Focused-Biz and where they can find more information about you and all the different things that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So our marketing tech automation company is here to serve small and medium-sized businesses. We are starting to niche down into some healthcare nonprofit industries like the dentistry. But as time goes on, we're going to continue finding the right fit for us, but it seems to be working well. They can find us online, focused-biz. We have some resources available there. We also partake in a podcast where we meet with a lot of other successful entrepreneurs and business owners. That's just a great community collaborative effort there for the podcast. But for those who want to learn more, I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Christopher Troka, Troka. Pretty simple to find me. I'd love to chat with anyone and talk business and see where things go from there.
Awesome. Dude, thank you for being on the podcast. And when we put this out for distribution, I will include all those links so people can track you down.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate a great conversation today.
Awesome. Thanks. If you'd like to learn more about CyberDogs, share your thoughts, or even ask a specific question about this episode and or the brand Retro Mindset, contact me directly at mike@cyberdogsmarketing.com.